Hello and welcome back to our second video. In this video, we are going to talk about four topics, which are general agreement on tariff and trade wars, World Trade Organization, and the global economic recession. So, according to the links between the four topics and the theory of commercial liberalism and constructivism. According to Britannica.com, General Agreement on Tariff and Trade was a multilateral trade agreement that aimed to reduce trade barriers and promote free trade. It was signed by 23 countries in 1947. It came into effect in 1948. According to Pevehouse and Goldstein, the GATT was more of a negotiating framework than an administrative institution. It did not actually regulate trade. So the GATT established a set of rules for governing international trade, and this helps reduce trade barriers, making it easy for business to trade abroad. So the GATT provides a framework for resolving disputes peacefully and to help prevent trade wars.
So as you mentioning about trade war. So trade war is basically a concept or idea that a country retaliates by imposing trade measures. So there are underlying causes to trade wars, such as through economic factors and through strategic concerns. So through economic factors are issues like trade imbalance. For example, in 2016, PNG and Fiji edged into trade wars. So due to trade war, PNG government imposed threats to Fiji by imposing 100% tariff on Fiji product coming into the country. So this is just an act of retaliate to rectify this economic situation. Through strategic consideration, a country may use trade as a weapon to apply pressure on a country that it is seen as a threat to its national security or other significant concerns. For example, the trade war between China and Australia. So, with it is caused by Australia feel threatened by Huawei, China's telecommunication giant. As Australia feel threatened, Australia imposed ban on Huawei. So China retaliate by imposing high tariffs on Australia products. So the two countries use trade as a powerful tool to express their concerns. So trade wars has a lot of meaning, which it is defined by certain situations.
On that note, currently the World Trade Organization, according to Baldwin 2016, is the successor to the GATT, and it was established in 1995 to supervise and liberalize world trade. Now, the WTO is a global organization consisted of 164 member countries that deals with the rules of the trade between nations. Similarly to the GATT, the World Trade Organization facilitates international trade and set trade agreements for member nations to follow. If a trade dispute occurs, the WTO works towards resolving it by negotiating and promoting free trade. And an example would be the Melanesian Spearhead Group Trade Agreement. It is a free trade agreement among 12 Pacific Island countries involving PNG as one of them. Since 2006, all products originating from these MSG countries are duty or excess free. So Law Institute 2018 stated that Vanuatu and Fiji in 2006 had a diplomatic issue, not due to governance but over biscuits. However, this trade war was resolved in the MSG platform.
I'll be connecting the two topics, GATT and WTO, to commercial liberalism. So according to Yagiura 2019, commercial liberalism is about free trade between states. He also included Griffiths, O'Callaghan, and Roach's work where they argued that economic interdependency would decrease the likelihood of going to war. So the goal of the GATT were to remove trade barriers between states and promote free trade. And WTO provided a forum for monitoring and negotiating trade liberalization, and it also facilitated the economic interdependence between states in the international system. So for example, Papua New Guinea exports mainly petroleum gas to China, and China exports its rice to us. So WTO is there to make sure that China reduces its trade barriers to PNG's exported goods, and vice versa for PNG. So from the example, this is how the WTO formulates and facilitates economic interdependency between states, which are the core principles of commercial liberalism.
So, as stated by Yvonne, commercial liberalism argued that economic interdependence will decrease the likelihood of going to war. However, one of the disadvantages of economic interdependence was the global economic recession that has occurred in 2008 up to 2009. And so, according to Pevehouse and Goldstein, the global economic recession that occurred in 2008, which began with the collapse of the US mortgage market, has spread quickly to other nations. The United States is one of the largest economies in the world, and it is a major trading partner for many countries. So when the US economy contracted, it led to a decrease in demands of goods and services. And many other countries were economically dependent on the US trade, and when the US economy contracted, those countries were affected. For example, China was relying on exports, and when the US economy contracted, the demand for Chinese goods declined in the US market. And this has caused a sharp drop in China's export revenues, and it affected the economy of China. So economic interdependence between states would decrease the likelihood of going to war. However, if one country falls into an economic crisis, another country who is economically dependent on that country will also be affected.
So if you analyze the formation of the GATT or the WTO through constructivism, it reveals them to be tools for liberalism or promoting liberal principles in the international arena. So constructivism, according to TASTE 2018, sees the actions in IR as shaped by social constructs which are formed in a state's identity. So when a state assumes an identity on the international arena, there are certain roles that it is expected to play. So the recent Russia and Ukraine conflict can be used to illustrate this. According to Pekaraj and Zhang 2022, Russia joined the WTO in 2012, enjoying the same treatment as other member states. However, now 43 member states have imposed sanctions on Russia in response to its invasion of Ukraine, resulting in a trade war between Russia and these member states. Now, viewed through constructivism, the actions taken by the member states can be seen as a validation of liberal values and principles. And given that the WTO is an institution geared towards promoting liberal ideas, it is unsurprising that the members would take measures against Russia in an effort to foster peace through economic sanctions. And that's all, and that brings us to the end of our episode.
Hope you guys learned something. See you.